your own personal discomfort, say what needs to be said in a non-offensive way, the more you make the world a better place.
Good afternoon and welcome to Live at 5 on Tuesdays with Jumpstart Mastery. I'm Andy. We're coming to you on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, and Instagram. Great topic from Brenda today, emotional stability in relationships, essentially how to do things so as to encourage, foster, support stability, emotional stability in relationships, not to do things that undermine it. What a weekend I've had personally, observing and experiencing. There are a number of people in my orbit that have things occurring in their life where conditions are emotionally unstable or they create emotional instability. In some cases, there's interpersonal conflict. In other cases, there's financial crisis. I'm going to focus on children in this discussion today, though, because of, and I have permission to talk about it to a restrained degree, someone very close to me personally and professionally is having some difficulty in their family when, oh, this light's doing something funny. I'm going to get rid of it. There's emotional instability that's been introduced into their home because they've learned that the public school where they have been sending their 6-year-old has been engaged in seclusion practices with their son. He's on the spectrum, lives with autistic experience. He's a charming little boy. His father and mother are brilliant people. They do a wonderful job with him. The boy's having some difficulty in school. I did not think this was going on in Washington. I know that there are other states that engage in the ridiculousness of that practice, and they call it a regulation room, a quiet room. I'm astonished that this happens in a state where public officials and ideologues talk about the things that they do and then engage in these practices that are completely antithetical to their moral platform. And furthermore, they damage people. Like, I've actively participated in damaging people by enacting seclusion and restraint and physical intervention. Let that sink in. I'm saying to you that I have actively participated in damaging people by being ordered to engage in those practices as a part of my job. I'll start here. To those who are in the profession of educating and supporting kids, children, particularly young children, small children, what do you precisely think sticking a 6-year-old kid in a room without any stimulation, low to no light, low to no sound, stripping them of their clothing and possessions and sticking them in there for a prescribed period of time? What do you actually think is regulatory about that? How does isolation and the movement of someone against their will to a low stimulation environment, how do you actually think that regulates people? Like, there's no science that supports the idea that when I'm in crisis and I'm isolated, I'm taken against my will, kicking and screaming to a room and shut in there, there's no evidence that anything salutary is going to happen to me. None. You're aware of that, right? Well, no, the company told us there are papers. Bullshit. We have the research. Like, the literature reviews are done. The restraint industrial complex has sufficiently tricked everyone into believing that that's beneficial. You're aware that we do that in adult prisons, right? And you're aware that we do that in juvenile justice settings when violence is really serious presented to a staff. You're telling me that a 6-year-old in a public school is presenting such an imminent risk of harm that that's necessary? Now, look, here's the bottom line. You really don't know what to do. You don't know what to do when the kid presents that, so you're doing that comes naturally. You want to have a conversation on that basis and get honest? We can have that conversation. That I'll meet you more than halfway with, and we can help you with that. But you're actually going to propose that that's helpful? You needed to do that for the safety of staff and other kids? No, you had to do that out of convenience because you don't know what to do when the kid in crisis animates themselves. That's what's really going on. And you want to debate that anywhere, in any setting, any scientific setting, clinical, teachers, union, bring it. You'll get mangled. You've got to be kidding me. We have to stop these practices that erode emotional stability. They damage emotional stability. And these companies, and man, I want to name them. I won't. I want to name them. You are doing a disservice to the public by engaging in complex motor skill training to move a child safely to a place of isolation in a public school. You are the least appropriate to be in that setting. The least appropriate provider. You have no idea the damage that you're bringing to children and how you're misleading school staff and teachers. Misleading them into thinking that that is the appropriate response. First order of business, we have to help school staff regulate their emotional arousal when presented with a kid who's organizing conditions of loss of control, whether that be instrumental or reactive. We have to equip you with the skills to deal with that. They exist. Studio 3, the low arousal approach, reduced demands. You think Andy McDonald is in business and writing papers because that doesn't work? You think in Great Britain, where we place that system in settings serving people with disabilities, that it's been there for as long as it has because it doesn't work? We have more restraint in our math than with kids with disabilities than other countries. We're putting way too many kids in isolation. And in public schools, you go to work as a teacher to teach. That's what you signed up for. I know that's why you go. You go because you wanted to teach. You didn't expect this to show up. I get that. I get that you need real help. And there are organizations like mine, Studio 3, and others that can really help the teachers with their own emotional arousal, and then technique and practice to organize a better solution than putting a kid in a room. Like, are you aware of the number of anecdotes alone, the anecdotal evidence alone, that this is damaging kids and creating behaviors worse than what necessitated your belief that the kid needed to be secluded? And you have the school system. This is to you. I'm going to tongue lash you for a minute. To anyone who knows this field, when you call a quiet room a regulation room, you sound like a fool. To anybody who knows what this is, you sound foolish. Stop calling a room where we reduce light and stimulation and sound and place someone in a state of being alone a regulation room. There is no intervention. There's nothing going on in there that sufficiently engenders the child to engage some practice they never had before. All you're doing is isolating them and stimulating their nervous system to damaging levels of intensity. Not my opinion. Don't talk to me. Go talk to Guy Stevens at the Alliance Against Seclusion and Restraint. He'll introduce you to, I don't know, about 1,000 people that are reporting this and the papers that are coming out about it. Even at the federal government level, we're eliminating this practice. Washington, what are you doing in the public school system, putting kids in regulation rooms? Foolish, dumb. You're going to lose it in the end of that debate. You better find a way real quickly to call it what it is. You're engaging in the practice of seclusion. You're obstructing a kid from moving out of that room while they're soiling themselves, crying, wailing, pounding on the walls. You're making conditions worse. You're damaging kids. That's what you're doing. You'll lose the argument in any setting with anyone who's been even halfway trained in this. Please stop. Please stop in damaging families. Please stop damaging children. You're not enhancing emotional stability. This is a rant. This is a rant. This is not how I normally animate myself. I feel so sad for my friend and his family, and the countless other families have to deal with this. I had no idea this was going on in Washington. It's got to stop. What do you do to enhance emotional stability? What do you do to create emotional stability? You do things that engender trust during periods when it's hard to do. That's what we do in the hostage negotiation setting. That's what we do in the crisis negotiation setting. That's what we do in the workplace violence prevention setting. We suddenly do it different with 6-year-olds who live with autistic experience. We stick them in quiet rooms. Come on. We do things that engender trust when it's hard to do. We embody self-regulation so that a youngster who is living in a state of dysregulation gets an example of what regulation looks like and is given the dignity of choosing their way out of the condition they're in into something that's more functional. That is harder to do than control people. And I get the impulse to control. I get, God, I got to stop this. I have to put my hands on it. Another little tongue lash. Shame on you, Washington, for describing the necessity of these techniques as the need to prevent elopement. You've got to be kidding me. The need to prevent elopement. How about do your job? Watch the doors, make sure people don't leave. Like other workforce members have those same responsibilities. We would never be able to get away with that kind of an explanation. To prevent elopement, a 6-year-old's going to elope. Well, how about this? How about somebody watches doors, watches points of egress, and that doesn't happen? Andy, you're taking away our dignity. Your message is being lost in how you're animating yourself. I am passionate about this topic right now, and you're feeling a little bit of that energy. I am completely self-aware of what I'm doing right now. I'm not doing it from a completely calm, propositional state. I'm doing it from a state of urgency. You're damaging children when you engage in that practice. Period. You don't have the science to support you. You don't have the anecdotal evidence to support you. All of the books say not to do this, and you do it. You're one of the only disciplines that get away with this without some kind of regulatory oversight. It's amazing to me that it goes on. It is the least appropriate place to engage in these practices because teachers don't sign up for this work. They aren't sufficiently trained in this work. And now they're engaging in the most coercive practice imaginable with a kid with disabilities. And you think someone, because they have a graduate degree, sufficiently prepares them for that? No. That's why so many of us in the provider space have to work, because the educational tract in social work and master's level psychology, this is like Pluto for those curriculum tracks, what we're talking about here. Supporting someone in crisis, particularly someone with disabilities, particularly someone with autistic experience, you're not getting that in your clinical education at all, of any real substance. Practically, no. Did you know that nursing education is only about 25% behavioral health, maybe 30? And people come out of that tract and go right into psychiatric nursing, and then they get woken up real fast about how different psychiatric nursing is. Emotional stability requires trauma-responsive principles in action that engender an opportunity for someone to be trusting in the presentation of their discontrol with you. Emotional stability is you not getting dysregulated upon the presentation of that, not dragging them out of there and sticking them in a seclusion room. I'm astonished by it. And we do things unintentionally. I'm not saying teacher bad. I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying you're not the job class to deal with that. Now, if you said in reply, Andy, we got a real problem, what are we supposed to do? That's a fair conversation. We have some answers. I know other people that have answers if you don't like mine. I'll tell you what the answers don't include. That. They don't include putting a kid in a room with no light, stripping them of their clothes, and somehow believing that the kid magically develops some technique at self-regulation. There's nothing regulative about that room. There's nothing regulative about sticking an adult in a seclusion setting or a mechanical restraint setting. And I'm not talking like some academic. I've done it and witnessed the damage from doing it. Like, done it more times than I can count at the order of a medical professional. How schools get away with doing that without any medical professional present is absolutely astonishing to me. And the laws should fundamentally be changed. You could not get away with that in a hospital or a residential treatment setting at all. So, don't want to end it this way, but I do want to say a couple of things. We are on a journey moving away from things that control toward things that support. We have learned unequivocally that things that are implemented that feature invitation, that feature choice, that feature self-regulation, produce better outcomes. Period. I'm not an anti-restraint guy. I absolutely know that there are times when people need to be restrained. How about this proposition? How about if someone 6 years old becomes assaultive, you physically, manually restrain to stop, and then you release? You ever think about that? You know, there are settings where we have to do that 5 and 6 and 7 times, and someone is generally sufficiently dissuaded from continuing because they realize their effort's going to be blocked. Oh, Andy, we don't have time for that here. We have 30 other people we have to attend to. Come on. There are lots of places that do this with people far more dangerous than 6-year-old kids with autism, where we have to do the same thing. We put them in manual holds when we commit to the discontinuance of mechanical restraint and seclusion. You're aware of that, right? Like, that's in the data. That's not my opinion. When you commit to the discontinuance of the ridiculousness that you're engaging in, when we do that in medical settings and we commit, we're not going to seclude anymore. We're not going to make mechanically restrain anymore. You know what invariably goes up? Manual restraint, getting a hold of someone. You know what begins to happen? No seclusion and restraint. Manual restraints go up, less injuries, and it's a last stage point for someone to regain self-control because someone is there encouraging it. I'm not saying you have to be a punching bag. I'm saying get involved in what's going to work. This alternative is damaging kids. If you have some degree of offense at how I've animated myself today, I'm sorry. That is how I feel about it. And it's not my opinion. It's one of the reasons that I'm in the world and we're doing what we're doing, helping as many people as we are, because we know. Don't think that I don't know the problem. I know the problem. I know it's hard to deal with a kid that wants to engage in property destruction and instrumental behavior. What I'm here to tell you is sticking him in a room is not going to make it better. It's making it worse. And it makes it worse for the kid when they go home. It's traumatic. It's deeply emotionally imprinting. It's damaging. Please discontinue its use. Do things that support. You want to know more about it? Reach out to us. You want to know more about it? Reach out to Andy McDonald and Studio 3. You want to know more about it? Reach out to Kevin Huckshorn. You want to know more about it? Reach out to Greg Smith. These are sages in the space, globally. Like, nobody, unassailable credibility. You don't like me, you don't like the way I animate myself, you want to talk to other people about it, go ahead. They're going to tell you the same thing. And what I'll tell you is this: we all know each other, and we will all move heaven and earth to help you change practice. We will move heaven and earth to do it. So with that, do things that support rather than control. That's my rant. I won't go on a rant on Thursday. I'll calm down. This is right on the heels of conversations I've had with a dear friend. So that's my appeal to all of you. Take good care.
Three, two, one.
More that you can lean into your own personal discomfort, say what needs to be said in a non-offensive way, the more you make the world a better place.